Nevan Hooker has long had a passion and calling for children's ministry, so he was excited to land a full-time position out of college. But on his salary, paying down $80,000 of student loans and personal debt seemed impossible.
I would start the day praying, God, please help me to pay off this debt. And every day kind of had this hopeless feeling like, is this ever gonna, am I ever gonna be able to pay this off?
He picked up some side jobs, but they weren't much help. Then he realized he needed to tithe the full 10% off the top of his paycheck. But shortly after, he found out he was losing his job.
I was praying for a miracle because it was that feeling like there was no other options. I was, facing this insurmountable thing of losing my job and having all this debt and not knowing what to do.
As his last day of work approached, Nevan says God gave him an idea.
I was producing children's ministry resources, and I thought, well, I might as well put all these resources on this website and sell children's ministry resources for church leaders. I paid a guy $50 to put a website up for me really fast, and launched that my last day in my job.
He called his new business childrensministrydeals.com. He was amazed at how quickly people responded.
In the first 24 hours, it did over $17,000. And by the end of the first week, it had done over $130,000 in sales, which is that's a miracle. That's unbelievable.
Then shortly after, he called his mom, who's a CBN partner, to share the news.
And she said, this is really crazy, but the 700 Club called me on your last day of work and said, how can I pray for you? And she said, well, I'd really love to pray for my son who's really discouraged right now and is just trying to find something to do. And so she said, we prayed for you. The 700 Club was a part of that success. They were there from day one.
Nevan became a CBN partner. He says he's happy to give to a ministry that meets people's needs around the world.
Even though I can't physically go to some of these countries and help widows and orphans and help in with the disaster relief and things like that, but I know I can support the 700 Club and their work in doing that. And so that really is, I think, helpful for me to be able to be a part of that.
As his business grew, Nevan increased his giving to CBN.
This past year, I decided to more than double my monthly support to the 700 Club, just because I felt like I'd been blessed so much, and the teachings that I'd received and the prayer ministry that happens there had been such a blessing to me. I wanted to really up my giving. Right after doing that, I just saw a dramatic increase in the success of our business. Our sales went through the roof, and I'm just blown away at how faithful God has been when you decide to give and when you decide to tithe.
Nevan soon paid off his debt, and today churches from all over the world are using his resources. With his business thriving, Nevan is convinced it's because of following biblical principles.
This was just God showing up in a big way, and for me it was a miracle. There's no other way to explain that success. And just to have the freedom of not being held captive by all that debt is really good.